when we look at technology, technology itself is not innovation. Technology is the product of innovation. Innovation is about people, and it emanates from human beings. And this is the part of the discussion that's really, really important, because we hear this in a number of different ways about how working with Latin American partners, by and large, enables companies to feel like they're on the same page faster. Some of it can be an agile situation, but oftentimes it's some sort of, the common thing we talk about is cultural affinity. But from the larger perspective, we're trying to get a better understanding of what innovation, the capacity for innovation in the technology scene in Latin America. And Fernando, in your role, we'd love to hear about that, maybe a little bit about your role at Endeavor.
Great, thanks. It's an honor to be here. Thank you, Kirk. I guess briefly what I would say is Endeavor is a nonprofit. We're based here in New York. We're operating now in 17 countries, 6 in Latin America. Latin America is saw the birth of Endeavor in Chile and Argentina, then Uruguay, then Brazil, Colombia, and Mexico. We're about to launch, hopefully soon, Endeavor in Peru. Now, the way we work is we go in with a strong network of local business people, the strongest business people that we can find that become the board of directors of Endeavor in each of the countries. We build a network of what we call mentors, again, CEOs, CFOs, venture capitalists, consultants, experts in any field that you can think, functional area or by industry type. They become mentors. And then we start selecting entrepreneurs. An entrepreneur for us is somebody, high-impact entrepreneur, somebody that has an ongoing business. We're not about startups. Revenues, the typical Endeavor entrepreneur, we have 500 entrepreneurs selected, Endeavor entrepreneurs so far, in the 17 countries. Now, the typical Endeavor entrepreneur has revenues of about $14, $15 million a year, about 200 employees, maybe a little bit less, about 170 employees. The company was started 6-7 years ago. At the time of selection, the prototypical Endeavor entrepreneur selected started his company 3 years ago, has revenues of $2-3 million, 10 to 15 employees. Now, so that gives you an idea of the type of company that we work. Of the 500 entrepreneurs that we work with, just because we're much, much stronger in Latin America than what we are in the MENA region, where it's our second biggest market. We're also now in Europe and South Africa. Of the 500, about 350 of those entrepreneurs are from Latin America, and about half of them are on, let's say, the IT side, broad IT, and anything technology focused. It can be a company specifically on technology, or maybe it's a health company innovating through technology, an education company innovating through technology, right? So half of those companies that we have selected are technology. In terms of the market size, of course, Brazil, but I would say the number of entrepreneurs, and I would say the number of successful technology-based entrepreneurs, Argentina wins by a landslide, I would say right now. I would also say that the type of innovation of Argentine entrepreneurs is very different to the type of innovation of Brazilian and Mexican entrepreneurs. Brazil and Mexican are roughly similar in the sheer size of that market, of their local markets, I'd say, has made a lot of software business-to-business companies in those two countries huge. Mexico City received more venture capital investments in technology than Miami metropolitan area.
That's total dollars?
Total dollars, and number of deals as well. So that in a way tells you, when we talk about entrepreneurship and innovation, compared to the US, including Silicon Valley and New York and Boston, yeah, there's no comparison. Removing those 3 areas, it's not that different, right? So that gives you, I hope, an idea of the type of things that we're seeing. Very exciting moment, especially now for Latin America.
Okay, a lot of those things we want to come back to, but Fabrizio, very important. For the Inter-American Development Bank, the idea of entrepreneurship, where does the IDB fit into nurturing, guiding, mentoring, seeding the entrepreneur community of Latin America? Big question, but give us a little bit of flavor.
The world is upside down, my friends. Argentina sends 4 times more remittances to Spain than Spain to Argentina. Mexico sends more money to Spain than it gets from Spain. There's Portuguese bakeries and new companies all around Sao Paulo. In Mexico City, the new Spanish immigrants are doing new restaurants. Latin America is undoubtedly in a historic moment, and we want to influence that. And this is services. This is about people, about human capital. So we are trying from the bank not only to promote this sector. We've done strategies in every country in Latin America to promote the services exports, to promote quality certification, to strengthen the role of the trade promotion organizations of the region in really getting involved in the services sector. With the finishing schools, training through an approach where content is determined by the employers, by the companies, and it's not in a supply-driven manner, but rather in a demand-driven way. So when you consider Latin America to invest, you will find that in many of these countries, in many of the governments, and in many of the institutions that you will interact with, there will be a knowledge to the specifics, either ITO, BPO, KPO, and within the different services sectors of the needs. So we are fostering an ecosystem, an environment for more entrepreneurship, for more supports to the services sector industry, to capture the diaspora of Latin Americans abroad that are coming back to the region, or those that won't come back, those that are in Google and Microsoft or elsewhere that have contacts, that have knowledge, that are willing to transfer ideas. We're working with diaspora components. And we're also increasingly setting incentives to attract qualified labor from Europe in particular. Right now, Europe, of course, and the youth unemployment there of very qualified Europeans, especially in the Mediterranean region, which has a natural affinity with Latin America, are willing to come. And we're working on specific programs to attract human capital, where there is, by the way, full employment. In the services sector in Latin America, there's full employment. So there is a need for more qualified human capital. We're working on different sectors of the industry, Kirk, to promote this.
On the subject of innovation, where, in your candid opinion, does Latin America and the Caribbean fit in today relative to services, relative to BPO, relative to adding more value through innovation, new ideas?
I believe that there is a true human capital. You're going to hear, I think, a lot during this panel, the human capital in the Caribbean, in Central America. It was undiscovered before. Initially, everything was India, everything was the Philippines for obvious reasons, and so on. And now there is obviously an economic shift, a very important economic shift for political reasons, for multiple reasons, but there is a true conviction that there is true talent very close to Nearshore, really true talent. In order to come to that, maybe I'll tell you a very small story. Why I am in the Caribbean. By the way, I'm the only one thing representing here. When usually somebody speaks about them, I have a business in Dominican Republic. So what I'm doing, right? My career has been 25 years in technology innovation. Started in Europe. We're all three almost Italians, almost. Okay, so it's right here. I'm sorry, you're excluded. Okay. And
French.
And from Europe, we have a very pragmatic way to see the problem, a very clean way to work. So through multiple endeavors, I end up in the United States. My largest customer is Mickey Mouse. Okay, so I always end up in Orlando. After 3,000 years of history in Europe, I end up in 75 years history of Mickey Mouse. Okay, so that's an interesting topic. So then after my career, I sold my company, and then I say, what am I doing now? And I found an interest for a certain level of things. It's, what about the Caribbean? There is a proximity. There is young people. I started to work for government in Dominican Republic. And I found in Dominican Republic something that is absolutely replicable in all the Caribbean, in Central America, so it's just an episode. I found something I did not find for a very long time in the United States, passion. I found the passion, I found the desire to work very, very hard around the problem, being technology, because I'm oriented technology innovation. And I'm sorry to say there is a lot of ingenuity in the United States, but from the middleware, what is the people working on the keyboard, I don't find the passion anymore. There is only one passion, it's designed by the dollar sign. And it's really that, and it's really too bad, okay? And it's something that we need to have back.
Fabrizio, what are you finding yourselves in situations where you're literally trying to lobby on behalf of the needs of the services industries to get these governments understand the opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, maybe as a generality, Oscar Arias could be right. We need more entrepreneurship. As a pragmatic reality, country by country, right now we're seeing receptiveness, excitement, and action, specific action. Look at Startup Chile, for example. An alliance between Corfo, the National Development Institution of Chile, and Silicon Valley engineers, which formed a committee that created already 300 startups in Chile. 300 startups from Silicon Valley, entrepreneurs, engineers, IT, young people that are granted a visa right away, are given capital, seed capital, are giving access to social capital, the connections with governments, with institutions, with the professional associations. They've already done 300. To their aim, Chile con Vale, as they want to do it, is to end of 2014 to have 1,000 startups. But look at Brazil. What's going on in Brazil, not only in terms of the middle class rise, which has been really astonishing, but also this new valley. It's called the San Pedro Valley in Belo Horizonte in Minas Gerais, where a similar program is taking place right now, that also to foster this the IT cluster in Brazil. Look at Uruguay, with the Technological Lab of Uruguay and the alliance with TCS, with Tata Consulting Services, where the contents are driven by the private sector. Of course there are challenges. We need more entrepreneurs. We need more risk proneness in terms of government supports. But really there's an energy and programs, specific programs that are going on.
I think that we're missing is one important role, is the academia. Latin America.
Absolutely.
I think it's a very important actor that is just realizing the need of those three actors. The private sector, I think government is a facilitator, and I think the academia needs to be more involved. It's ironic because we have good universities, but they're not really engaged with the industry in terms of services and providers. So you mentioned professional development. We want certification. That's what we're doing in Colombia. We want to have more COPs and all the stuff, and we want to do it with the IDB. But that's something that we're missing in Latin America, which is a strength, but we have to, help them, is bring aboard the academia. It's a very important, and you see it in the States, and you see it in Europe. And if you get those three working together, that's when you get a new endeavor, a new entrepreneur, a new generation that is actually more connected. So I think it's very important to mention those three working together.
Good point.
Eric Hartman, CIO of Exante. So my question is, I dealt with Eastern Europe a lot, and what I found, a lot of high-tech companies, real innovative companies like Google and Intel and HP, and a lot of innovative firms, IT firms, are actually coming to Eastern European destinations. I know for a fact that they are also coming to Latin America. So my question is, how do you compete with that? Because you're offering, you are getting, graduates from universities, and now it's not, it's really hot, I think, for them to work with those IT firms rather than outsourcing firms. Before those IT firms came over to emerging markets, it was really the outsourcers that were really introducing the Western style of development and contacts and protocols and whatever tools to those graduates. Now, when you're competing with those high-tech companies, what do you do? How do you do this? Any strategy you can share? Thank you.
If I can have a first reaction. You mentioned HP. HP has the biggest office outside the US in San Jose, Costa Rica, 7,000 people. Sabre has the largest office outside the US, Sabre, in Montevideo, Uruguay, 1,000 people. HP actually also just landed in Medellin. And so, those are not statements, those are facts. And the programs that I was mentioning, that, they're facts. Yes, there are challenges. If there weren't challenges, there wouldn't be opportunities to do business. And regarding governments, yes, they may stand in the way or not. Everywhere you can have a subjective opinion about that. One way or another. But overall, Latin America has been very resilient to the financial crisis. The intra-American trade has more than 10 times increased in the past 20 years. The debt over GDP of Latin America is much less compared to Europe. And believe me, if you're in the world today, what's more exciting as a market that's growing? Europe or Latin America? The largest importer of services in the world is the United States of America. It's the largest buyer of services in the world. The market is here. So, and you're 3 hours away, or 1 or 2, or an overnight flight, no jet lag.
We don't have to get academia. Academia responds. Think of universities as a reaction organizations. They're not that proactive. Stanford did not create Silicon Valley. Stanford reacted to the demand of talent of companies settled in Silicon Valley. Mexico today, some of you may have used Uber, the taxi service. The first pilot for Uber was done in the state of Colima, Mexico, by a developer who didn't have an iPhone or an iPad. So he has developed it, sent it forward. They had to send it back to him, and with the changes, there is talent. And Mexico didn't have any engineers, any developers at least 6 years ago. Universities respond incredibly fast to the demand of companies. Now you're going to find some of you of very big companies, if you want to launch in a very small municipality in Latin America and you need 2,000 engineers from that municipality to start with, you're in trouble, fine. But if you're thinking about a transaction of investing or moving your company to Latin America, and assuming that you don't need 7,000 people to start with if you're HP, countries, universities, cities respond to the demand for talent, and they train the people in that way. And just think, somebody had mentioned probably today, I'm pretty sure somebody had mentioned, the number of engineers coming out from Mexico, coming out from Argentina, coming out from Brazil, just an extraordinary number of engineers. That didn't happen 10 years ago, 15 years ago, because there wasn't a demand for it. And nobody told the universities, why don't we start training engineers today for the future? That's not the way universities happen, because they need to train for whatever students want to pay money today to find a job tomorrow. So,
well, my final comment is very similar. It's just that you have a digital native generation now. So just going to the point, 80s, 90s, you have it there, and you have in Latin America a larger cluster, and we are adaptable.
Yeah.
So we evolve.
Flexible.
We are very flexible. That's something that you don't find in many regions, and that's a very strong asset that you can find in Latin America. So you have a larger cluster, collaboration, evolution, but you also have adaptability. So we adapt, and that way we create competitiveness.
Very good. And on a final note, I just heard Fabrizio tell me I won't get jet lag when I fly to Uruguay.
No, you won't. It's an overnight flight, but there's no time difference. Maybe an hour. So the most you get, in the summertime is 3 hours. So that's nothing.
Not bad.
better than going to San Francisco.
Exactly. All right. Well, I want to thank our panelists for a fantastic discussion. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.